Hello everybody and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah.
And boy do we have an episode for you. This was a weekend of some football.
What a weekend. In WSL and NWSL, it was just madness on Saturday, madness on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that was our key word in our WhatsApp, was just madness in capital letters.
I'm very excited to highlight this as the game of the week, Ali, for many, many reasons. The first one is, of course, that it's West Ham, and you get to talk about your beloved West Ham.
I do. No bias here.
But I'm also excited because we always say that we want to make sure our games of the week, every week, we're not just highlighting, always talking about City, always talking about Arsenal, so on and so forth. And I'm really pumped to talk about Villa, too, because we've been, Villa's kind of a dark horse so far this year.
Absolutely. They'd gone into this game winning both their games. They were up there, proving everybody wrong, and they're an exciting team to watch. They are, there's no doubt.
Has your anger worn off yet? Or are you still a little they're an exciting team, but I don't like them still now?
No, yeah, there's a lot of tongue biting going on.
Let's get into it. So West Ham ended up winning this game 2-1, but it was really not that simple. We've decided that the way to go through this game, which I really love, and this was Ali's idea, is that we're going to go through it chronologically, but mainly by controversy, because there were a lot of them.
There was. This was a mad game.
Okay, so first things first, West Ham come out and they score immediately within the first 2 minutes. It seemed like West Ham dominated the first portion of the game, and while that changed, and we'll get into it, they did dominate the first portion of it.
Yeah, for sure. It was just nice to see my team coming out strong. So, first 2 minutes, we get a corner. Kirsty Smith gives a beauty of a corner. Dagny uses her height over the keeper. Goal within 2 minutes. I would also point out there was probably about 6 West Ham fans amongst the 1,000 odd Villa fans. So cheering was dicey.
What do you mean by that? You felt a little scared to cheer?
Luckily, we found the one West Ham fan and sat with them, and then we were sat in front of a daughter and a dad who didn't seem that bothered when we cheered.
You were worried about getting yelled at?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was amazing. And then 14 minutes, some indecisive defending from Villa, not knowing which way to go, meant that Hayashi slotted home a beautiful goal to get us 2-0 up within 15 minutes.
What broke down for Villa there? Because Villa really did, frankly, dominate possession throughout the majority of this game. What broke down at the start of the game?
Lack of communication, genuinely. So they've got Anna Lee in, who did really well in the Conti Cup, did really well in the penalty shootout and thing. I don't know if Hannah Hampton is injured, but they used Anna Lee for this game. And I don't think she had the control of her back line, so the communication was just off. And then as the game went on, they started to get used to each other and the communication got much better. But yeah, it just felt like there was a lack of dialogue between the defender and the goalkeeper.
We can also add that it seems like Rachel Daly started to kind of take control of the offense.
Yes, for sure.
And that kind of leads us on to controversy 1, which we'll say. There was a battle between Mackenzie Arnold and Rachel Daly.
So Villa got a free kick in the West Ham end. So all of the camera action is focused on the player that's gone down to get this free kick.
Because there's one camera, which, okay, we're not going to go on to it. My bad.
Yeah, so the next thing you see, if you're watching it, is Rachel Daly's on the floor, Mackenzie Arnold gets a yellow card. So everybody is going on saying, Mackenzie Arnold pushed Rachel Daly over, she did... Mm-hmm. No. I was 2 rows from the front. What happened was Arnold was trying to get the ball back off of Daly because she felt that she was time wasting for this free kick. Daly wouldn't give it her back, so Arnold tugged on her shirt a little bit and Daly went over like she'd been shot. Literally flipped over.
Okay.
To quote my darling wife, she dived so hard she was looking like her cousin Tom.
How hard did Mackenzie Arnold really tug on her shirt, though? Was she really yanking?
No, genuinely, honestly, and I swear to people, I would, I'm going to hold up my hands on a lot of things that West Ham did in this game. I will. But it was literally a little tiny, pull on the back of shirt being like, hey, give us the ball back.
Okay.
And she felt like she'd been shot.
That was your main point, I think, when you were texting me, that you were very unimpressed with Rachel Daly because you felt like she was diving quite a bit.
She was. I felt she was quite diving a bit. She was doing Rachel Daly things in the fact that she was goading players. She was getting very physical on them and stuff like that, which is very Rachel Daly, and I admire that and I loved that. Like, if you followed my tweets, I was like, add Evans versus Daly and Longhurst versus Daly to like spicy rivalries that are coming on, and that was great. It was more the fact that she seemed to. The longer the game went on, the more Villa were losing, the easier she fell over. And I'm like, that's not you, Rachel. That's not what you do.
Yeah, that's really not something we've seen from her, to be fair.
No, so I was very disappointed.
For those of you listening, just a reminder, we're going through this game as controversy by controversy because there was so much controversy in this game. Before we get onto controversy 2, I do want to just take a moment and highlight, and maybe this isn't the best place for it, but you look at the statistics here, and while West Ham did go up 2-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game and maintain that lead for a majority of it because Villa didn't score until the 77th minute, Aston Villa had 70% of possession and 20 shots. So this is, frankly, this doesn't feel like a game that West Ham got control of and then maintained control of. This feels like a game where West Ham went up 2-0 immediately, and then Villa was just pounding the ball towards the goal for the next, 90 minus 15 minutes, 75 minutes.
Yeah, do you know what? They absolutely were. However, I will say that they need to practice some shots because they had 20 shots on target. They had 20 shots, 7 on target, and 7 of those were all caught by Mackenzie Arnold. There was no fingertip saves apart from maybe one, and that was the penalty, I think. There was no like tapping it onto the bar. It was all low, not very hard shots that Mackenzie could just hold and kick out.
Now, was that a product of West Ham condensing and dropping into the box and forcing Villa to shoot from wider, or was that just a product of Villa needing target practice?
Let's say the first thing, because it makes us sound better.
Okay.
No, I do think it was a mixture of both. I do think that there was times where they were getting really erratic and they just shot, and maybe they hoped, like there was a couple where it was super close and like it was like an inch or two and it would have gone in, but it whizzed down the wrong side of the netting. But a lot of the time it did feel like a lot of just frustrating, let's just kick the ball and hope for the best.
Okay. Other than that final piece, I do feel like possession-wise and play-wise, it was a strong performance by Aston Villa.
For sure. 100%.
Absolutely. So we're going to move into the second half, where all of the controversy happened, and it really all happened in like the last minute of the game. So we're coming on to that. Villa comes out guns blazing, but West Ham was holding a bit of a high line, pulling an offside trap quite a bit. That doesn't necessarily lead to the penalty, but there was quite, as we were talking, Rachel Daly was on fire. And lo and behold, a penalty gets called. I have to say, Allie, immediately when I saw this, I was like, I bet you Allie thinks that this isn't worthy of a penalty.
What in your mind was the penalty given for? Because I've seen different responses.
I had to watch it a few times, but it just very clearly was that the defender clipped Daly's feet and got nothing else. It was just she clipped her feet.
See, the official reason has been given that it was a handball.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And I watched it carefully because you'd been saying Daly was diving, and I was like, I need to make sure this was not a dive.
But people are saying it was a handball by Kate Longhurst. However, in the same game, Maz Pacheco, the Villa defender, did exactly the same thing, and it was waved away.
Consistency.
It
is a handball, but it needs to be called on both sides.
Exactly. But if it is given for Grace's trip of Daly, I have no complaints.
And then I truly could not believe that Lehman steps up and misses the penalty. And not just misses the penalty, it was a very, very poor take.
It was pathetic. It was
She
a pathetic
hardly challenged the goalkeeper.
And not only did she step up to take it, she took the ball from Daly. She was like, no, this is my penalty. I'm taking it. And it's like, why? Why, Lehman? Are you trying to show up your former club? Are you just ego?
Yeah.
Is it because your other half is in the stadium and you want to show off? Why is it you're going against what has been decided in the team plan?
Do we know that for sure, that it was decided in the team plan?
Carla Ward has come out and said in her post-game interview, Daly was penalty taker, already decided, said in the dressing room beforehand. And Carla Ward has also said that they have called Alicia out in the dressing room about this. So this is not being left alone.
As they should.
Yeah.
There's so many things to say about this. Alicia Lehman, I'm glad she got called out in the locker room because that is fully ego, like you said. Fully ego for her to step up and take that ball away from Rachel Daly, who is your top goal scorer, your number 9, who you have on the sheet. Simply, like, your main purpose is to score goals. And also, I'm going to add that Rachel Daly should have put up a fight about that.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I didn't hear it, but it's been reported everywhere, and some players told me when we was talking after the game, you heard Carla Ward go to Rachel Daly. That was your effing ball.
Yeah.
Why did you not take it off of her?
Yeah. I agree. If you're empowered by your coach in the pregame that you are the penalty taker, you go take that penalty. That's it. Hands down. Unless your coach tells you not to. So I agree it's partially on her, but oh my goodness, because that would have changed the complete flow of the game, because then Dolly scored an absolute screamer.
Oh, that goal was beautiful. Like, even as someone who's like, she's at West Ham playing, she's gone to Villa. But it was beautiful. It was an absolute beautiful ball, and they could have got points. They could have built on it and even taken the win. And
could have been the equalizer. So then we go into extra time, and this is where everything really goes awry. I think you should explain this.
Should I? I've been arguing with Villa fans all weekend about this.
Have you been?
Oh yes. So we get into the ref has already said there's 7 minutes of extra time, which is crazy as it is. And this doesn't even include this incident. That's just beforehand. 7 minutes of extra time. Sarah Mailing, Hawa Sissoko are going for the same ball. Mailing's already got it. Hawa's going after her. Argue that because Hawa is more built and powerful, she was behind Mailing and may have got a hand to her to like try and pull her back off the ball. I don't argue that. This is when it then explodes.
Yeah.
Because Sarah Mailing and Hawa Sissoko, so Mailing starts going up to Hawa and starts like hands out, going for the shove.
Yeah.
Hawa is pushing back,
right,
as well as stepping back, but he's pushing back again because the height difference. She's gone. It's not a punch again, whatever it is. It's a slap. In the neck, and they've had to be pulled apart. Sissoko gets a straight red. Mailing gets a yellow. Hawa then walks to the dugout for a red card. Somebody allegedly says something on the Villa bench. So she then goes after the Villa bench.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And is pulled off by Kate Longhurst, who's been subbed off long before.
Oh my goodness.
Paul Konchesky, our coach, is then red carded for saying something to the Villa bench, as is our assistant coach, all sent down the tunnel. This all happened within 4 minutes of extra time.
Oh my gosh. I truly actually didn't know that there were that many red cards, and the coaches were red carded too. But what everybody's talking about is the red card awarded to Hawa. Because, look, at the end of the day, there was a tackle on the field, right? People got wrapped up, and Sissoko gets a red card. But at the end of the day, Mailing is the one who went up to Sissoko, right? It was basically like you shoved her, she shoved you back, you came back for more, and then only one of you gets red carded. That's what I have a problem with.
This is what I've been arguing with Villa fans about.
Yes.
Because I'm not defending what Howard did. Absolutely. She deserved a red. She deserved to walk 100%. But if she's going, so should Mailing.
Yeah. You know what? So there's a lot of layers to this. I feel like because Sissoko is taller and her hand came across, people thought that was so much more of an intense way to deal with it, that she should be awarded a more intense card. No. At the end of the day, what both of them did was a red card. However intense it was, both of those actions were red cards, and we have to bring up the fact that Sissoko is black and Mailing is white.
And we do, because it's not come from me. There's other black players have all said the same thing. There is precedence for it with Karen Bardsley and Frida Asai, who again both hit each other. Frida got the red card, KB got the yellow, KB's white, Assie's black. And there is an ongoing built-in that black players are more aggressive, and it's seen as more of an aggressive attack. Whereas, again, I'm going to hold my bias up. I am a diehard West Ham fan, but for me, it felt like Howard was backing off and Mailing was going at her, and she was defending herself. Yes, it was a red, but so was Mailing.
Yes. I fully agree. And yeah, I mean, look, whenever an altercation like this happens and the black player gets a red card and the white player does not, you have to look at this and say there is some form of implicit bias happening right now, A, with the referee, and B, with probably the storm of what's happening afterwards, which I also want to bring us on to, because unfortunately, it seems you mentioned to me that on Twitter, Sissoko is just being hated on in very, very aggressive and racist ways.
It's racist. There are people out there calling her a gorilla. There are people out there calling her like a beast. There are words that are not out there racist, but they have racist connotations, and we know why you're saying it. We know why you are doing that.
It's so deeply upsetting. It's so deeply upsetting for her. And I hope that the WSL reviews this and Mailing ends up getting a retroactive red card, because that is the only way to make this kind of fair. Let's go around the world, around the world.
Very special around the world with the Ballon d'Or. The results of the Ballon d'Or were announced at the time of recording, and Alexia Putellas has broken the record for winning back-to-back awards. The top three for the female Ballon d'Or was Alexia Putellas, Beth Mead, and Sam Kerr.
Over to España. Barcelona have managed to pull a 2-point lead after a win over Athletic Club. Second place Levante dropped 2 points with the draw against Las Planas. Real and Atletico Madrid are tied on points in third and fourth, but Real have a game in hand.
Up north to Scotland, Rangers have just a 1-goal lead ahead of closest rivals Celtic. Both teams won over the weekend, however Rangers squeaked a 1-0 victory over Hibs, whereas Celtic had a more convincing 7-0 win over Glasgow Women.
Over to France. Lyon and PSG both won 3-1 this week, keeping up the title race. Lyon keep the 2 points clear, but it's still early for PSG to pull it back.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Now, over stateside to the two massive games in the NWSL playoffs. We previewed them last week. They happened this weekend, and drama in both games, like neither disappointed.
Neither disappointed. They really lived up to the hype.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So we're going to talk about them both, but let's start off with Houston versus Kansas City. Spoiler alert, Kansas City won 2-1 in stoppage time. Let's talk about it.
Well, we just have to say, first of all, overall, this was an absolute blast of a game. It was wide open. We said in the preview last week that this was going to be, I said it was going to be a wide open goal frenzy. It wasn't a full-on goal frenzy, but for the first half, it really felt like it was. There were goals right off the back, 2 goals in 20 minutes. And while the goals settled down, it was still just a wide open, end-to-end, really fun game. I feel like we should break it down team by team. But before that, let's just run through really quickly, like the run of play, the goals. Really early on, like first 5 minutes of the game, Kristen Hamilton gets a ball played over the top. She's fouled in the box, and Labonta absolutely buries it. Like, that is how you take a penalty kick.
Exactly. Alicia Lehman, take note.
Yeah. And we have to just take a moment, because Kristen Hamilton was wearing the captain's armband this game, which I just absolutely love to see. And I know I've been singing her praises on this podcast for a long time, because they are so well deserved, because she is still to this date, in my opinion, one of the most underrated NWSL players, just so strong. And this is part of what she brings to Kansas City with her speed up top. There were multiple times where Houston just had no chance but to just foul her.
Yeah, they had no eyes on her, and then
No. So, I mean, Kansas City was pretty dominant to begin with, obviously tucking that away. And you're kind of thinking, oh no, Houston looks like they're going to fall off. And then
So I just like, I dream about goals like that. Sophie Schmidt, 21st minute. Worldy doesn't even come close to describing this goal. It was one of the most gorgeous outside range, beautiful shot. Like, you dream of scoring goals. Yes.
it should be studied on how you take a ball on a half volley. Like, it was Sophie Schmidt as having just such a great season, and it is so unexpected. Like, Sophie Schmidt is a incredible Canadian, a veteran, incredible Canadian international, but has just kind of been coasting, I want to say, at Houston, and all of a sudden has really come into just a new light this season. I don't know, maybe it's those, like, she's got those long, like, blonde flowing locks now. And, like, she looks like she's a surfer girl now, and she's just chilled out and vibing, and she was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna hit this one time and it's just gonna bury it into the back of the net. She's on fire.
Absolutely. And brings Houston back into it. It's 1-1. It's all to play for yet again.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of when the game, like we were talking about at the top of this, where it wasn't a goal frenzy from there on out. Like, the goals settled down, but it was still wide open. It was still an absolute blast. We have to talk about how Houston, I mean, I guess we're going to come on to Houston, so maybe I'll leave that. Let's just let's talk about Houston first.
Yeah, let's do it. So, you say Houston had more chances. They had 20 versus Casey's 6.
Yeah.
But they were all amazing chances and kept both keepers on their toes. Like, we talked before about easy saves for Mac Arnold. These were your fingertip saves. These were push it into the crossbar, get it rid, get clear saves. Like, the goalkeepers were my MVPs on both teams because they were outstanding.
Absolutely. I mean, I tweeted about this. They were forced to make incredible saves, and both keepers, like you said, I mean, were put in the situations where they had to make an incredible fingertip save multiple times to keep their team in the game. It was just so fun to watch.
So, Houston fans right now, what are you thinking? What do you think was Houston's big mistakes? I know you think they made a huge one.
Okay, well, I feel like Houston, and I'm not a diehard Dash fan, so this is me kind of speculating. But as I was watching this game, what stuck out to me, because frankly, there's not a lot that they could have done better. Like, let's come on to that. They did so many things well. What I think Houston Dash fans are probably most upset about right now is the fact that Ebony Salmon got taken off in the 75th minute in a playoff game when you're tied 1-1. And I simply can't understand.
Foolishness.
Like, Ebony Salmon, since joining Houston in July, has scored 9 goals.
Yep.
I'm just going to let that sit because that is more than half of what Alex Morgan needed to win the Golden Boot. And Ebony Salmon has been playing for Houston for half of the season. And you're taking her off in the 75th minute in a game where you are tied and you need a win to move on. Tactically, you just don't. I mean, I'm just going to sound like a broken record because you just don't take off your top scorer in that type of situation. And beyond that, I feel like people are going to say that she didn't have the ball at her feet as much. She wasn't creating as many opportunities. And I just think that that's not true. And
really short-sighted. Really short-sighted.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it because it's also kind of just besides the point because having Ebony Salmon on the field, and there's no disrespect to Eddie who came in for her, is always going to be more dangerous than having Eddie on the field because of what she brings, because of the attention she draws from the defenders, and because of the potential that she has to score.
But they did do so many things so well. Like, their defensive back line was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. They kept that high line, which frustrated Kansas City no end. You could see it every time they got caught out in that offside trap because that high line was just always there.
Absolutely.
And they did create chances. They just didn't quite get them in the back of the net, which was probably the most frustrating.
Yeah, I think you said it well. Like, I don't think it's a matter of what Houston did wrong to lose this game. It just didn't fall. You know?
No. Over to the victors in Kansas City. What was it that got them through to victory?
Oh, I mean, Kansas City is similar to San Diego because we'll talk about this. They're so consistent. They stick to their game plan. They make adjustments when they need to, and they hold strong defensively together. They are just a consistent team that knows how to play with each other, and they stick to that. And I think that's really what carried them. The way that they scored the winning goal was classic Kansas City. Little pings leading into the box on the edge and then burying it. It was them sticking to what they do best and not giving into the pressure and just throwing everything out the window.
Now, of course, they were missing some big names in this game. They've had some names out all season, but the big name that they were missing was Desiree Scott.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to do really well with that. I was very impressed with Lorera, who had filled in for that number 6 role. You've got Merrick, who I've always had a lot of time for, managed to get her start in the back line.
I will say she got a little worked on the side, but as a unit, they stayed strong. And I think that they'll be happy to see Desiree Scott back, but altogether, they're playing with a back 3. For her to start in that back 3 in this game, it was pretty impressive, and up against Maria Sanchez nonetheless, who had an incredible game. And the speed also that Houston has for Kansas City's back 3 to handle that, it was impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as we now know, they will be facing OL Reign in the next game of the playoffs. What do they need to change, keep, improve to make sure they get through the next stage?
I think Kansas City's front line and attacking midfielders have always been kind of the stars of the show here. They had a great game, change nothing. I think it needs to be called out that Lavoguez got really injured. We don't know if she'll be back.
Yep.
So maybe another adjustment that needs to be made in the midfield for Kansas City from week to week. Now it's a different player that they might have to be filling in for. That could impact them. And mainly, what we were just talking about, their flanks got exploited. Maria Sanchez had her way. Ebony Salmon kind of had her way. They need to stay compact and control the middle of the field. But we all know that OL Reign is quite the team to have to do that against, right? We're talking about them controlling the middle of the field against Quinn, Fishlock, Lavelle. That's a big 3. And
big ask.
It's a big ask. But with the formation that KC plays, it's a 3-4-3. They need to control the middle of the field. That's their game. So I think that this upcoming game it's going to be a battle for the middle of the field.
Right. Before we move on to the next game, we do, however, have to call out some nastiness that happened at this game.
We do not like having to do this, like game in and game out.
No, but it seems to get more and more common. So we're going to keep calling it out every time it happens because nonsense. Okay, so the player we mentioned earlier, Lorera, tweeted because Casey were like, "Oh, thanks for hosting us. It was such an inspiring environment." And she came out and said, "I beg to differ. One fan double flipped off Lo Lebonta when our player was down screaming in pain from an injury. Another fan threw food at one of our players as she was going to take a corner. Not to mention the countless 22, you suck."
Amber Brooks, the one and only, also then added in on this thread, said, "I played/captained the club for 4 years, and this season heard a fan yell at me, 'Amber, your dog Henley's ugly. I hope he dies.'" So there's that too.
Not cool, Dash. Not cool.
Yeah, I retweeted this, and I'm just going to read what I wrote because I feel like it's worth saying.
Yep.
It's horrifying and alarming and exceptionally disappointing, and we need to be better than this. The more this game grows, the more we as fans have a responsibility to keep these spaces safe and keep, frankly, the toxicity that infiltrates men's soccer out of our game. And it is the onus of the fans who are there. There is nobody else who can do it. I, as a fan, now know that if I'm sitting at a game and I see something like this happen, I will personally take it upon myself to shut that down. I guess to end that on a lighter note, we've sold out crowds at both of these stadiums. So, I mean, big up to Houston. That's amazing. And it was, it's incredible.
So, moving on to the second playoff game, which was San Diego Wave versus Chicago Red Stars. Yes, another dramatic game that went into overtime with debutantes San Diego Wave beating Chicago Red Stars 2-1. What a game.
In overtime, or in extra time, as you say.
Yes, in extra time. This overtime nonsense. I'm like, what is this?
I worry that the people in the U.S. will get stoppage time confused with extra time, so I want to say overtime. But I'll give our listeners more credit than that. Yeah, what a great atmosphere. I mean, San Diego really brought it also. We didn't know how this one was going to pan out because there were so many question marks around so many players. And we didn't know until almost game time if Morgan or Korniak were even playing. So we didn't know how this
was a strategy? Just to change the subject. Do you think this was a Casey Stoney strategy? Because literally, you're looking at the player list. Thursday, Morgan's practically at death's door. She's practically like, no, she hasn't got a leg left. There's no way she's playing. And then suddenly, Sunday, Alex Morgan? Like,
listen, they are obviously both hurt. I'm not going to say that. Like, I don't want us to get called out for being like, they weren't hurt. They were hurt, of course. But yes, is this a Casey Stoney strategy to be like, yeah, we'll keep you questionable if you're hurt? I do not put it past her. A master at work. I just love her so much. I had that same thought going into this game. And Morgan ended up playing the full extra time. Korniak came off after 90. Do with that what you will, Chicago fans. I do know of one, Tim, who was very upset about it. But let's get into it. This was an absolute blast. Chicago was hurting. Chicago was limping into this game with injuries, absences, red cards, like hurting real bad.
But they dominated first half.
Oh, big time.
I was like, this is it.
Time.
Chicago are doing what Chicago do. Mm-hmm. They're going to go and they're going to crucify. And then they went 1-0 up and I was like, this is it. This is Chicago doing Chicago things, you know? San Diego are going to bottle it.
Not only did they go 1-0 up, but they went 1-0 up and they continued to dominate.
Exactly. Like, I was like, Chicago doing what Chicago do. Like, this is it. They're pulling it out of, like, the last breath that they had.
Because we do know Chicago to always somehow make the playoffs, somehow get to the finals by the skin of their teeth, and then drop it in the finals. And this year they did not get to the finals. So maybe not the bridesmaid this year. But yes, I mean, they absolutely dominated. Quite honestly, I do think a turning point for San Diego was when a player went down. I don't remember who it was, but a player went down and I saw some Chicago players getting kind of like upset about it, being like, oh, you guys just want a moment because we have the momentum, we're destroying you. It was that kind of frustration. Yeah. And everybody went over to Casey Stoney and it was the turning point. San Diego started to fix some things. It didn't look super pretty, but they started to fix some things. And then the second half, it really switched.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But let's talk about the first half quickly because of Chicago. They dominated in your favourite place to talk about, which is the midfield. You always say it's always one in the midfield. It's always one in the midfield.
I'm a center midfielder, of course I'm going to say that.
Yeah, of course you would. But it's true. They had that dynamic in the midfield, also with Pugh finding all of the space that caught out the defence multiple times, including goal scorer Emily Van Egmond.
Emily Van Egmond was outmatched, and I don't mean in like a one-on-one capacity. I mean numbers-wise, Emily Van Egmond as the holding six was outmatched by the number of attacking players in the middle of the field on Chicago. And that is why I think Chicago was able to dominate the first half so well, is because they could control the middle of the field. Nagasato's playing the false nine, so she's dropped down into the middle of the field too, and she's giving Van Egmond trouble. And yeah, you mentioned Mallory Pugh. I mean, we all knew it was going to hang on her hat, right? We all knew it was going to hang on her.
She was the one that was left.
Yeah. And I want to talk about Mallory Pugh, but while we are on Nagasato, let's talk about that first goal.
It was a gorgeous goal, to be fair. It was.
I mean, it was a nice chip, but Kaylin Sheridan absolutely buffs it, kicks like an absolute terrible distribution. Yuki Nagasako gets the ball in the middle of the field, and all she has to do is chip the keeper. Granted, it's harder than it looks, but This is the second year in a row.
And I've said this, and I've called Sheridan out before, and you told me off. But no, but fair. No, I've called Sheridan out before in the fact that I think she's a cracking goalkeeper. I do. I think Caitlin Sheridan is a great goalkeeper and will step up when needed. However, I don't know if it's inexperience. I don't know if it's just she's not quite there yet. But she does stupid things with her distribution that will cost San Diego big time. Like, some of her moves, they might not have even made the playoffs because of some of the things that she's done.
Distribution is important for goalkeepers, and we just saw why.
Especially if you're giving it to the other team.
Throughout this year, were you calling out her distribution overall or her distribution when the ball is at her feet?
It's mainly when it's at her feet.
Yes,
it's mainly when it's basically what she does. It's because players do this is she's got the ball, she'll see an opposition player like coming at her or getting too close, and she panics, and then she'll then boot it in one direction or the other, but 9 times out of 10 that direction is at the player that's running at her.
Right, and that's exactly what happened.
Exactly.
We were talking about Emily Van Egmond and Chicago and how they were controlling the middle field, but it was just so much more than that. They were so dynamic, and they were able to find Mallory Pugh in space so she could run at San Diego.
Yeah.
And she is so dangerous with a ball at her feet running at San Diego.
So quick. Insanely quick.
And she caught Emily Van Egmond out twice. The first time, Emily Van Egmond did not get a yellow card. And this is important because it's going to come back around. The second time, she did get a yellow card, and, fair play, all went on. She probably saved a goal, to be quite honest, and took the card and walked away. I only highlight that to say I feel like Chicago fans are probably pissed about that, because had she been given that second yellow or that first yellow, potentially either she doesn't foul Pugh that second time or she gets a second yellow and she's out of the game. Everything changes, right? And then, nail in the coffin, what probably really hurt Chicago even more is that she then scored the equalizer.
Yes. So you are fuming if you are a Chicago fan. To be honest, it's one of those things that I feel like she probably wouldn't have done the second foul on Pugh if she'd got the first yellow. She couldn't. But at the same time, I do think that this ref was actually quite fair and was very much a big on like talking tos and like grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and rather than being card happy, because there's nothing worse than a card happy ref.
I agree.
Was like, calm yourself, sort yourself, or I will card you. And that's what happened the first time round. Is she got Emily Van Egmond got the talking to. She did it again the second time. The ref went, I've already told you once, yellow card. So I do think the ref was actually had a really great control over the game.
I totally agree, actually. That's a great point. From the start, because everything got chippy really quickly.
Exactly.
Really quickly. And you could see him trying to get control, manage it without pulling the cards out. And I really respect that. Let's call it the good refs when we see them.
So, we're talking about San Diego and Chicago. Chicago faded because they had no bench. They had no depth. They didn't have what they could pull out.
I agree.
Of the bag, like...
Yeah, they really did. They were injury ridden. I think missing St. George's on that. We
said it would cost them.
Yeah, I think it really, really did. And I will say, like, San Diego also, on the flip side, while Chicago faded, San Diego, like Kansas City, is so consistent in how they play games. And I'm going to attribute it to Casey Stoney, because... Gotta love Casey Stoney. Casey Stoney is a tactical genius. I'm just going to say it. And you can see in every single game, San Diego Wave get better as the game goes on because Casey Stoney is working through what they can do defensively better and how they can better exploit the other team. And that is exactly what happened. It's not like San Diego came in and didn't know how to exploit Chicago. They just weren't able to do it because Chicago was dominating. So Casey Stoney, and this is why I think that water break when there was an injured player was such a key turning point, because Stoney was able to help them in their adjustments. And what they were able to do is exploit the 3-back of Chicago. And Alex Morgan said this before the game. She said, we need to find balls wide. We need to find the wings. And they were able to find long balls, use their speed over the top. They used Korniak's height, and they were able to pull it out. And I truly think that it is the tactical shift from Casey Stoney that allowed that to happen.
Do you know who my MVP for this game was, though?
Casey Stoney.
No.
Alex Morgan.
No, I tell you who it was. It was Jakobsen. Jakobsen
yeah.
is one of the most gorgeous, underrated players.
Agreed.
That's going in, like, she did quite well in Euros. Like, she's a really good Swedish international, Jakobsen, and she's come to San Diego and she's just quietly done these little things that has just pushed them, and she got both assists.
Both assists, yes.
In this game, and because of the way she plays, the fact that she has been pushing up front, like I said, she's just really sneaky and quiet in the way she does it. She plays in the most beautiful Swedish way in playing, like she just does, and it just links up fantastically with the team that she's got. So
I totally agree.
For me, it's Jakobsen is like,
not to toot our own horn or like sing our own praises, but we called this transfer out when it first happened with this signing, when Casey Stoney signed Jakobsen. And I guess I'm bringing it back to Casey Stoney, because why would I not?
Why would you not?
Stoney knows how to build a team. And I don't know why Jakobsen is so underrated in the NWSL. And perhaps it's because most people on San Diego Wave who play offense on San Diego Wave live in the shadow of Alex Morgan, and that's fine. But I'm glad that we're giving her due airtime, because she is so key in this offense. Alex Morgan doesn't score the goals that she does without Jakobsen.
No, and like, I will give it credit all to Morgan, being golden boot, like she's there when you need her, and she got the goal in the overtime.
Classic Alex Morgan angle.
It was
shot.
A classic Morgan angle. And they now face Portland, which is going to be juicy.
It's going to be really fun. Both of these semifinal games are now going to be an absolute blast. And check out our Patreon this week. I'm going to do a semifinals preview with none other than Tim when he wipes away his tears from his Chicago Red Stars losing. We will be putting that up on Patreon this week. So for a full preview of the upcoming semifinals, head over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/TheWoso Show.
Yeah, and very finally, just to add on, I don't know if anybody saw Casey Stoney's children.
I didn't.
Who were at the game when they won, and it was quite adorable because her two oldest was like sort of hugging their mums, being like, I don't like the attention, I don't know what's going on, and then her youngest Willow was like, me, yes, it's all about me.
That's really cute.
It was
There's
really adorable.
One.
It was really adorable. I will put the photo up on our Instagram. It's so adorable.
That's always one. And that is it for us today at the Women's Soccer Show. Like I mentioned, head on over to our Patreon. We've got great content for you every week. And for all of us here at the WOSO Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.